size, and then you can look around like if you are in the middle of the object. And when you want to build your new 3D printed house in the place that you just buy, you go there, you put it, and then you can start to customize it, to move it around, to place it, and when you are sure about what you are seeing, you save it, you take a picture, and you send that to the builder that will put the big 3D printer and start building your house. So again, it's always the same idea that augmented reality is the missing component between the maker and the printer. So now you may want to share what you are building. And today when you want to share something, what you do is you put an image on Facebook and Twitter, you create a blog post with it. Maybe you put a 3D model, but it's not really practical for someone coming along to just look at what you did and imagine how it will look like if they print it or if they buy it. And again, with augmented reality, this communication is pretty simple. You post something on Facebook, you have this kind of thing, still with a picture because some people don't know about augmented reality. But then you have a link, you click the link, and as soon as you do that, it will show you the object that you are looking at. So you now have your object in real size in front of you. And it's not a picture anymore, it's not an image, a schematic, it's the real thing that you have right there. So, communication, sharing. Now, you can also communicate, but this time not through the internet, not through a social network, not through your smartphone, but with paper. And I have here a book made by Florian, which has invited me, by the way. And if you got this book, and you can get it there in the Data Tower booth, you'll see that on some pages you will find an Augment logo. And when you see this logo, you can start the app, press the scan button, and scan the page. So there, let me scan all of the page. So we recognize it, and we load the model that is associated to it. And then, instead of a flat book, you have your object as the old-time pop-up book, but this time in augmented reality, still in real size. So if you create a brochure, if you create a communication, a project, if you write a thesis about anything, and you have a 3D model, instead of putting the image or the schematic of the 3D model of what you build, just put your real 3D model on top of it. It's a lot better, I think. So, now, another application of augmented reality is to replace those old schematics. So you know those are really complicated looking schematics that tells you, okay, put the A on the B and the C on the D and then turn it around and it will work. With augmented reality you can have an interactive way to do that because you can animate objects. So let's say you have a cardboard and you need to explain how the cardboard is folding. You can just animate it and then you will show exactly how it needs to be handled. And again, it's augmented reality, so you can turn around it, it's there. You can look. It's like you were holding a camera to the virtual world integrated in the real world. And it works also for robots because everything is cooler when you have a robot. So there you can have your little robot in the middle of the room and showing, okay, how big this robot really is. And you have a real size model, real speed animation of how it would look like in your floor. on your plant at the place you want it to be. And you can imagine if you are a sales rep and you are going to see a customer to sell your robot, if you can show it to him right in his place, you win. Now, the last thing I wanted to tell you is that with our app and maybe with other apps, everything is stored on your iPad. So it means that you have a catalog of everything you've made. You just have to have your smartphone, your tablet, and then anywhere you go, you can show the objects that you are creating. You can have a business card or anything, and then you show, okay, this is my last project, what do you think about it? And you can imagine that you can't really bring with you everything that you've done through all your history, but with augmented reality you can. You just need to have a tracker, a smartphone, a tablet, and that's all. And the object can be small, you can put it in your hand, but you can also bring with you the bigger and biggest object that you've made, like a 3D, like a printer, but it can also be a 3D printer. So augmented reality, it's like the paper catalog, like the object catalog, like a website showing all your product, but in your hand and with the ability to really bring this object in front of you. So, how does it work? What you need to have, and the basic component that you need to make augmented reality work, is a 3D model. And usually the supported format and the best format to handle that are those. So they are the most standardized, they are the most widely available. So you have the STL that you are all familiar with because that's the 3D printing format. The OPG, which is quite older, but it's working well. It's just triangle materials and colors. And then you have the Collada, the newer one, which lets you use animation, visualize the whole scenery with different objects. So if you have one of your model, your 3D model in one of those formats, you zip it together with the texture, if there is any texture, and you upload it to our platform, and then you can visualize it in augmented reality. It's like a 5-minute process. And if you happen to use any of those software, so SolidWorks, SketchUp, 3ds Max, Blender, or Cinema 4D, we have plugins. So you install the plugins, and in one click, the object that you are looking at on your screen will be uploaded and will be available on your iPad, so that you can share it. You can attach it to an image to do an augmented print, an augmented paper, and you can also send it on Twitter if you want to. There are some limitations that are inherent to the fact that we are working on a mobile device. And as you know, and it's still the case, but maybe it won't be in the future, but on a mobile device, you have less memory, less power, and so you can't really put the biggest 3D models that you have, that 1 million polygons, it won't work. So there are some hard limitations that we put in place for the app not to crash, because if you open a too big model, at some point, iOS will just tell, okay, shut up, you are taking too much space, and will kill your app without any warning. So in order to avoid that, we put some limitation, like less than 400,000 polygons, which is quite big. Texture up to 1024, and the zip file less than 15 megabytes. Because even if you would be able to open it, you don't want your users or the people you share it with to wait for 10 minutes for the model to load, to unzip, and then to be loaded in memory. So how can you start? It's really simple. First, you sign in on the website. You create an account. You upload the 3D model that you have exported from your software. Then you log in the application, so you download the app, which is free, as I was saying. You log in the app, and then you will retrieve the 3D model that you uploaded previously. Then you're done. You can see all your model all the time on your iPad. So there is the last thing that I wanted to tell is, where are we heading with augmented reality? What are the next steps? What are the next technologies that will empower users? And this is just depth sensors. So what are depth sensors? Depth sensors are a way for a tablet, for a smartphone, to know about the environment, so to recreate in real time all the environment in 3D. Which means that if you want to put a 3D model on the table, right now you need the tracker to give a point for the tablet to know where you want to put the model, so to give an idea of the size of the position. But with depth sensor, since you will be able to make the tablet understand about this table, you will be able to put your 3D model on top of it. And if you want to manipulate a 3D model, you can just take it with your hand, because your hand will now be also a 3D object in the same world than the 3D model you uploaded. And if you want to put a 3D model on the wall, same idea. Since the smartphone will know that there is a wall and how big is the wall and what distance it is, it will be able to put this model on the wall. And I will show you a video that doesn't exist anymore. Okay. So yeah, it's okay. There are thousands of videos about it. For instance, this one. And the depth sensor also has an application that you can, with it, scan an object in real time. So you just made a sculpture, or you just build an object out of foam, and now you want to 3D print this object right away. With the depth sensor, you can just point your tablet to the object, and in real time, you will recreate the object. And once this object is recreated in 3D, you can upload it to an augmented reality platform and share it with someone else, or you can upload it to your 3D printer and print it right away. So there you see, he turned around the object for like 30 seconds, and now you have a 3D model of the object. So that's the first step, to acquire the model in 3D. And then the second step is that since you know where the world is, you can now place your object precisely in the 3D world. And when this will be available on smartphone and tablets and every device that you are using, augmented reality will really become huge, because all the barriers that exist today won't exist anymore. And this moment in the future where this will happen is really close. I don't know if you have heard about it, but PrimeSense was bought by Apple. PrimeSense are the one making the sensors that are inside this little case. Intel announced RealSense, that is their own technology for 3D scanning. Google is working on Project Tango, and Project Tango is about integrating those depth sensors directly in a smartphone, so that you add this capability and this sensing power to smartphone. So all this will happen, is happening, and I think by the end of next year, everyone, so every tech-heavy people will get and will have a depth sensor in their pocket. So that's all about my presentation, and now I will take your questions. If you have any question about augmented reality, the technology, how it works, how it can be used in your case, and yeah, any other thing related to that, you're welcome. And if you want to discuss about it later on, I will be around. Okay? No? Okay. Yeah? Yeah, there is a mic somewhere. Is there a microphone? There.
What other 3D models you can use?
So you mean what other format?
At the beginning of the presentation, you used STL format.
Yeah, so you can use STL, UBG, Collada, and then from all the other softwares, you can always export one of those formats. And for instance, if you are in SolidWorks where you can export only STL, we have a plugin that lets you export also full textured and color models out of SolidWorks. So most of the time you can use one of those standard formats to work with. Okay, thank you very much. If you want pocket trackers so that you can use with Augment, I will put some on the table. So with that, you can have augmented reality with you all the time. And if you have 3D models, I advise you to play with it. Thank you.